Well, here we are again. This is Brother Peter with our discussion carrying on. This is the number 2 segment of talking about what is with legalism is not spirituality. Legalism is not a religious entity, which they would like to make it so. The legalist would like it to be a religion that he follows and she follows, that they can legislate that other people would have to follow no matter what their religious affiliation is. Every law legislates morality, either God's or man's. There is going to be laws in this land, even by secular humanists, who are going to put them out, and they will either be God's or they will be man's. Every legal system must be based on a set of religious beliefs. Now, these folks are saying what they have is a religion and is a religious belief. So public policy requires a decision inevitably reflects moral judgment. Even at the time a law is passed, one set of briefs is preferred over another set. And as they sit in that legislative committee and they go over what they have, they decide what they're going to accept and what they aren't. For this reason, a pluralistic society is which all points of view are treated equal, as unrealistic and ultimately unworkable in reality. A pluralistic society is one which is making a transition from one controlling set of beliefs to another controlling set of beliefs. In other words, they're saying Christianity is not the thing. Christianity won't do it. On the other hand, the beliefs that they're putting out won't do it either. Secular humanism won't do it either. So, Christianity won't do it if you're not Christ's child, if you don't belong to Jesus Christ, if you've never said, God, I'm a sinner, forgive me of my sin, come in my heart and save my soul. You're not a Christian. So you're not one of God's people. Oh, you may go to a church, you may belong to a church society, you may do a lot of things, but you cannot talk to God and have Him talk back to you and give you His morals if you're not His child. American law is established on the moral principle of the Bible. The colonials made this very clear by statement, such as the following in their charter. We submit our persons, that is us personally, we submit ourselves personally, our lives, our states, unto our Lord Jesus Christ, the King of kings and Lord of lords, and to all those perfect and most absolute laws that His given us in His holy word. You can't even take His holy word into the White House anymore. It's not acceptable. You can't even quote from it in the White House anymore. It's not acceptable. Some who cry out against legislating morality may be trying to say that you cannot force people to do what is right. That's a half-truth, completely overlooking the function of the law as a basic instruction for wise, healthy, and prosperous living. In reality, our courts are now in confusion with 2 opposing legal systems. One is based on biblical principles, the other is based on humanistic principles. This explains why court decisions are more and more unpredictable, inconsistent, and even contradictory. Our legal system, where I live in the state of Georgia, is defunct. I through the years have worked with people who are caught up in the legal system. A man can go out today and shoot another man and be out walking on the street in 2 weeks. A man can get caught in around the towns that I live in with a little small bag of marijuana that he bought in a store that is not considered selling type pot. It's considered regulation pot, which is legal for them to buy in that store. When he gets caught by the police, they can say it's suspect. And being suspect, it can take 3 to 5 years to prove it's not. During that period of time, at a considerable cost, they put the young man in jail. And I could take you to a case right now where the man's been in 3 years right now already. The pot that he bought in a store in a town right here, and it's suspect pot. And the police will tell you that there's such a backlog, it could take 3 to 5 years. And then it can get mixed up and they don't know whether it's his pot or somebody else's that comes in the answer to. But if it comes into that it's not street marijuana, he's free. And he's already served 3 years. And he can end up serving 2 more years before the verdict comes down. When the verdict comes down, if the verdict says that he's innocent and it's not, he's already served 5 years for and being innocent. I know you shouldn't use recreational pot, but it's out there and it's legal and it's for sale. I'm against it, but that don't make any difference. But it doesn't also give the policeman a right to pick you up on it and charge you for something that it's not. And he doesn't know whether it is or not. I've seen so many bad cases when I see so many people who ought to be in there are not, because they're legally smart and they know how to get the right lawyer, and they've robbed enough people to get enough money to pay the lawyer. So let's get back off that before I get in real trouble. Legal decisions. Any other legal decision legislated morally or a morality of death by shedding of innocent blood. Since 1973, and from 73 to 84, 15 million babies had been aborted in the United States of America. This is over twice the number of Jews killed under Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany. The Americans killed from the time it was put in 73 to 83, which is 10 years. In 10 years, they aborted more babies than Hitler killed in the Jewish massacre. Can you believe that? And we think that Germany and Hitler ought to be charged with that heinous crime when we ourselves are just as guilty as Hitler was? Just as guilty? Those abortionists out there, they are no different than those men that put those people in the gas chamber that Hitler had. They are just exactly the same as those people that put the Jewish people in the gas chamber. That's what abortionists are. Over 60 are no longer person, or that deformed children are not persons, or that Jews or Christians are not persons. Wow. See, this is what Hitler said. Jews were not persons. And if our court decides that the unborn child are not persons, they can also decide that people over 60. I'm 77. I'm drawing my Social Security. I got news for you. I draw less Social Security than one of my neighbors over here with 3 people in the house drawing aid. They don't do anything. They don't work. They don't do anything. They drive a brand new car. They make a payment with their food card. They buy food more than I had 2 of them in front of me last week, about right at $500 worth of food. 2 big buggies slapped full. One of them half full of drinks. And they used their card. And none of them worked. And they complained about everything that they had and everything they were doing. And we have gone crazy in our world. And the working man like myself, I worked. As a matter of fact, I still work. I'm not under the penalty right now of Social Security because I'm 77, but I still work hard. I'm part of the people that make sure those people get free food. Hitler talked about building a super race in which people who were thought to be inferior, had to be eliminated. Humanistic philosophy has approached the elimination of inferior people from the perspective of assuming that since they were not enjoying a happy life, they had a right to be born, or have not a right to be born. In accordance with the human reasoning, a suit was brought in California on behalf of a child who was born with a mental handicap. What did he do? He sued California, and he got $900,000 because they didn't abort him when they knew that there was a possibility he may have a mental handicap. He wasn't so handicapped at all, was he? He had enough sense on the good side to sue for $900,000. I wouldn't say that he was very mentally handicapped, would you? Wow. The damages of a penalty not informing the parents to test that which might reveal the possibility of brain damage to present and testify that they had suspect brain damage, they would have aborted the child. The humanistic reasoning behind this decision becomes even more astonishing in the following case. Listen to this one. The Attorney General of Delaware issued an opinion stating that a doctor who had failed to kill 2 unborn babies with lethal saline injection could be sued for criminal malpractice. When the killing of unborn children is made legal, it is not a very big step to the realize the killing of unwanted infants. Just because they don't want them anymore, they can take them down and have them put to death. When a baby was born with a birth defect in Bloomington, Indiana hospital, the parents decided that they did not want it. The baby was not fed. Nurses who heard the baby crying were prohibited from giving it food. Finally, the baby was locked in a closet and the door was barred. This case of the infant, Doe, was taken to the courts. The lower court ruled that the baby did not have a right to live. The decision was appealed, but the appeal court ruled that the lower court had the jurisdiction to make the decision that it did. And the court then sealed the records. After 6 days, the baby starved to death. This is America. Hey, we talk about cannibals over in another country eating people. They're more justified than the United States of America is in killing a baby. They're more justified. That's their way of living. And they're more justified than we are killing babies. Is the world in danger of overpopulation? There is a group that says that. We're going to overpopulate the world. I got news for you. Every single solitary person in this world right now, given a 2-foot space, could take a city that is 400 square miles, which is not much bigger than Atlanta, Georgia, and put every single person on a 2-foot square that's in the world today on that square, and it wouldn't fill the city. How about that? How about them apples? Hey, we rode this week. I rode this week, 125-mile trip. In that 125 miles, we hit the country. And on this country ride, we saw hardly a house. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of acres in the state of Georgia. In one state only, thousands of acres of undeveloped, unused property. And they talk about overpopulation. Atlanta may be overpopulated, but that's because people choose to go there and live there. They say, well, you can't hardly find a place in Atlanta, and that's true, you can't hardly find a place in Atlanta. But people come in there trying to find it, and they find one and they get in it. But they can't complain about the overpopulation because they came there to it. They could come to my little town right here. Every other house is for sale. And plenty of land to build other houses on. And it's underpopulated. This is an underpopulated area. There's more land out here than you can see. You can fly over this area, which I've done in a small plane, and see acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and hundreds of acres. No house, no nothing on them. People own it from somewhere. They own it and they don't use it and they don't do anything with it. And so it's here. We got land here like that. No, we're not going to overpopulate. That's a lie from hell. If they talk about aborting babies because of overpopulation, they're liars, and they don't have any basis to stand on at all. None. No basis to stand on whatsoever. Is the world running out of vital natural resources? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. As much as we waste, and we're not running out of vital resources. What might happen to us one day, and rightfully so, the United States of America may have it happen to them one day. I'm in the United States, so I can talk about it. We may get cut off from world supply of food, and it wouldn't take long. I lived in the state of Maine when I was young, and we used to ship potatoes, we used to ship beets, we used to ship corn, we used to ship fish out of the state of Maine up through New York and into other places. And we always had a saying in the state of Maine, can you get any food out of Maine past New York City? New York City, in by itself, New York City proper, could consume every single piece of food that leaves the state of Maine, and still wouldn't be enough to feed them. One state trying to feed that one city. You couldn't feed that one city with all that we had, that we put out. All the millions of pounds of potatoes that we put out every year from the state of Maine. All the hog meat from up in the northern Maine that goes out. All of the fish down on the seacoast. All the lobsters. All of the everything that is shipped out of Maine. All of the beets, the big beet fields. All of the corn. All of the stuff that's raised and shipped from Maine. All of the milk from farmers, dairy farmers, all of the syrup that's made from maple trees. You could ship every single solitary thing directly to New York City out of one state, the state of Maine, and not past New York City, and it wouldn't be enough to feed the city. Not for a year. We don't raise enough in Maine to feed the city for a year. They can consume all the food you can send in there. Can you imagine that? That's one city. We're headed towards something, my friends, that's not going to be pleasant. My advice to you is find Jesus. Say, Jesus, I am a sinner. Forgive me of my sin. Come in my heart and save my soul. And then if you ever do come to the place to where you have to starve to death, you'll be able to do it with some finesse. But there could be a time come. You wouldn't have to shut the trailer trucks down 3 days 3 days. 3 days. I've had some friends that run big grocery stores. They stopped the trailer trucks for 3 days. There wouldn't be one piece left in the store, nothing. The minute it hit the fan that this happened, the stores would be rampaged. And there wouldn't be a thing on the shelf in just a little bit. You let a big storm come, and 2 days before the storm gets here, there's no milk, no butter, no bread left in the store, and many other things that depleted. 3 days. Everybody hits the store. Listen, we're headed for something in the United States of America. If you do not know Jesus Christ is your Savior, you don't have a leg to stand on. And you won't be able to get any comfort anywhere from anybody or anything. Well, our time's come and gone. We will see you next time. I hate to leave on a negative note, but we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.